hard-pressed to find a more beautiful racetrack than Laguna Seca in its California beauty. The CART FedEx Championship Series is ready to go racing right in the middle of the toughest championship fight we've seen in the history. 5 races remain as 6 drivers vie for the title CART champion. Kenny Breck is 6th in points, and today runs with the team that won Laguna Seca the last 2 years. After a pair of DNFs, Roberto Moreno continues his championship dream, scoring points in 4 straight. Jill DeFerrin is masterful on permanent road courses, scoring a win at Portland and a 2nd place at Mid-Ohio. While Adrian Fernandez is the model of consistency, finishing no lower than 7th in the last 7 races. In his 10th season, Paul Tracy searches for his first championship, and following back-to-back wins, his title hopes could become reality. They all chase Michael Andretti. 9 years removed from his lone championship, Andretti clings to a fragile points lead, scoring only 6th in the last 3 races. Any one of these drivers could leave today as the points leader. Are rolling in Laguna Seca. We're about 8 miles inland from where the Pacific Ocean laps against the Monterey Peninsula. It's the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey at Laguna Seca Raceway. It should be a devil of a fight today because points are on the line, and matter of fact, any one of 6 drivers right now can take the points lead. On the right-hand column, you see where those drivers start in today's race. But let's send you out to Gary Darrell.
Paul, we're in the pace car, just coming down to the Corkscrew, and what a great venue to play out the next chapter in this dramatic championship points chase, the tightest in CART history at this stage of the season. 26 900-horsepower open-wheel cars behind it. The Penske team for the 3rd time this year, dominating the front row. That's Helio Castro-Neves and his teammate Jill DeFerrin right behind him as we come to the home stretch here, and the parade laps continue. You've got the Corkscrew, you've got a magnificent venue, you've got a championship battle. What more could you ask for? Let the adrenaline rush begin.
Oh, man, Gary Darrell gets all of the good assignments. Hi, and welcome. I'm Paul Page with Parker Johnstone. You know, the past couple of races, we've seen a lot of mechanical failures. My question, Parker, why?
Well, the engines are producing a lot more horsepower and a lot more torque than they did at the beginning of the season, and everyone acknowledges that the gearboxes, particularly the Renard, are fragile. But I think there's another factor. At our last permanent road course at Elkhart Lake, during the race, the drivers were using a lot of the curbs, and these curbs simply pound the car. Well, here at Laguna, the curbs are even steeper. If the drivers decide to use the apex and the exit curbs, they may not make it to the finish. Will they? We'll find out.
Let's send you down pit side right now. Here's Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, let's talk about Brian Herta. Of course, he won here in 1998, and he won here in 1999, so you might think, well, Brian could be disappointed that he has only qualified in the 2nd row. It's exactly the opposite. Consider he and his team, Forsyth Championship Racing, this is their first event of the season. They only had 8 days notice to come here that they were going to compete in this event, and he puts it on the 2nd row. Absolutely incredible. And you know what? He may have a great chance today to actually pull off that 3 in a row here at Laguna.
Here's the Craftsman starting grid with Helio Castro-Neves, who won at Mid-Ohio and has scored points on all permanent road courses. Taking the pole with a new track record, his teammate Jill DeFerrin alongside. Dario Franchitti looks to rebound from a disappointment of stalling to the pits while leading in Vancouver. He starts inside row 2. And Brian Herta is back outside of 2. The 2-time and defending Laguna Seca champion wants to make it 3. Juan Montoya and Kenny Breck make up row number 3. Montoya is the series laps led leader, but he's not finished 2/3 of the races. In row 4, Mauricio Gugelmin and Christian Fittipaldi on the outside. The 5th row is Jimmy Vasser and rookie Oriol Servia. California native Vasser looks for his 2nd Laguna Seca victory. In row 6, 2-time champion Michael Andretti and Tony Kanaan. The 7th row, former winner Paul Tracy and Max Pappas. Pappas finished on the podium here last year, a place he's visited just once since his Miami win. In row 8, Cristiano D'Amata and Alex Tagliani. The 9th row, Adrian Fernandez and Patrick Carpentier. Row 10 is Roberto Moreno and Michel Jourdain Jr. The 11th row, Mark Blundell and Jimmy the Rocket Shinji Nakano. The 12th row, Tarso Marquez and Alex Barron. And in the 13th row, Luis Garcia Jr. and Memo Gidley. As we take a look here at the challenge ahead on this 2.2-mile permanent road course, the last 2 years, this race has been won by a Ford engine. There are 2 Hondas on the front row, but Brian Herta is going to start this thing with a Ford. Parker?
Drivers reach top speeds of over 185 miles an hour entering the principal passing area into turn 2. Second place to pass, it's going into turn 5 at 175 miles an hour. The Corkscrew at the top of the mountain, located here. Imagine bungee jumping with 900 horsepower strapped to your back. What a rush.
On Friday here, there was a very frightening moment. This is turn 4. The driver is Patrick Carpentier. Look at him catch the lip of the edge of the gravel trap, goes airborne, literally bounces off the tire barrier, and pirouettes over the wall. The good news in all of this, despite heavy damage to the race car, is that Patrick Carpentier is all right. He's starting the race today, and they've made some changes to the gravel pits all around the track because of that. One of our onboard views will come from Mark Blundell here today. And coming up, heading for the Corkscrew, is one of the most recognizable corners here at Laguna Seca. Remember 96 and Nardi's pass on Brian Herta? Well, the Corkscrew is a quick left and a right-hander and a drop in elevation at the same time, putting a strain on drivers and equipment every lap. Shinji Nakano right at the top of the Corkscrew, and he sweeps down. And I'll tell you what, your stomach just falls away when you do that. There are literally thousands of racing students who have driven laps here, and of course all the club racing here. Everybody loves to run the Corkscrew. Field comes off the corner. Green flag should be ahead. Castro Neves to the inside. Down through, that's the first turn. That little kink to the left. And now look at the brake slide up. Brian Herta tries to move on the inside of Montoya. Heading for 3, through 3, looking for 4 next. This is where that accident occurred, not only for Carpentier, but Paul Tracy got off in a big way there during the practice.
And coming off that corner you just mentioned, Paul Tracy dropped wheels off the outside, allowed Tony Kanaan to get a run on him on the outside coming into turn number 5.
Castro Neves continues to lead his teammate Gil DeFerrin. Battle back there. Brian Herta seems like he wants to make his moves early and fast, but as yet he's really not been able to do that. Down through the Corkscrew, down the hill, out from under the bridge. Left-hand turn for the first lap.
And you can see that Brian Herta's lost a little bit of contact with this lead group of 4 cars. But keep in mind, this is the first time that Brian Herta has ever started outside the front row in his starts here at Laguna Seca. An amazing accomplishment.
Well, Castro Neves, as he comes across the line, it's the 5th race this year that he has led. And 3 of those leads have been on natural terrain road courses. There's DeFerrin. Now, you know, in that battle for pole position, Castro Neves did snatch a point away that by the end of the season, Gil DeFerrin may badly need for the championship. No change from start order. Castro Neves, DeFerrin, Franchitti, Montoya, 3 Hondas, then a Toyota, and then the Ford of Brian Herta.
Looking a little further back, the only movement I can see is Paul Tracy did get around Tony Kanaan for 12th place.
Montoya tries to make his moves on Franchitti. Key passing area is just ahead. This left-hander right here starts to the inside under braking. Sometime you can do it.
Slowest corner on the track, just under 50 miles an hour. Now they're up to top here, on board with Montoya. That would be 7th with the Lola. Then hard on the brakes, 3.5 G's of braking force here. Coming through turn number 2 at just over 60 miles an hour. Up the short chute, they go to 130, back to 90 for the right-hander. This one's just a breathe of the throttle, roll into the steering, and back on the gas at 140. Now up the short chute to turn 5, 175 miles, hard on the brakes, just over 90 miles an hour through the steeply banked left-hander. You may have noticed that
see it, is different than he normally wears. And what he has done is patterned his helmet after Gonzalo Rodriguez, who was killed in the Corkscrew last year, a flip over the wall. There was a beautiful memorial service led by his sister here, and Montoya wanted to honor his memory by wearing a helmet that reflected him. Look back in the field. Fittipaldi, Andretti, Paul Tracy.
Keep in mind, Michael Andretti has not felt well all weekend long. There's something going around the kart paddock. A lot of people have been ill, engineers, crew members. Well, me last weekend, as a matter of fact. This is a very demanding course physically and mentally. Fortunately, it's relatively cool outside to some of the temperatures we've seen in the past here. But still, when you've got Paul Tracy behind you and it's a fight for the championship lead, you've got to really focus.
On that battle right there is a fight for the championship lead between Michael and Paul Tracy. It's interesting, in this tight little community of Champ Car racing, there is some sort of bug that's going through the racing community. It started about 2 weeks ago. Doesn't seem to affect anyone else, just the racers and their crews and friends. Everybody's been coughing and wheezing.
I never thought that's what the racing bug was, but if that's it, I don't want it.
I got it. I got it. So at Laguna Seca Raceway, nothing changes at the front of the field. Montoya is still trying to track down and pass Dario Franchitti. The top of the field, it's Honda, Honda, Honda. Then the lone Toyota and the Ford of Brian Herta. Some of the beautiful views that you can see here at Laguna Seca. We'll be right back.
My father was in the garage business, and his father was in the garage business. Well, my father was my mechanic all my life. I've got some old Craftsman tools that are still around, which I love, and I treasure. My grandfather and also my father's tools, which nobody could ever buy.
1,800 Craftsman hand tools made in America, guaranteed forever.
He really believed in Craftsman, same as I do.
This is an ordinary cell phone. This is Nextel, and it's going to change the way you do business thanks to Direct Connect. Its digital two-way radio feature. Frank? Not yet. It ensures instant contact. Bridget?
Got it.
Cost a fraction of cellular. Just passed. And it makes other cell phones...
Ready now.
Obsolete.
Direct Connect from Nextel. How business gets done.
Sign up for Nextel National Business Plan by September 30th and get free incoming cellular calls.
Now this is the fierce snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him and it's all over. No! Oh, no worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America via FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought them manufacturers' championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies. Fortunately, this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
Today's coverage on ESPN Speed World of the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey is brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. By Honda, proud sponsor of the 2000 FedEx Championship Series. And by America's #1 choice in tools, Craftsman, makes anything possible. Penske cars run 1 and 2 at Laguna Seca Raceway in the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey. And when you consider the Penske team, they have been so very, very powerful this year after a considerable time without any victories. Gilda scoring the 100th win earlier this year at Nazareth. But consider their performance on road and street courses. Now, this particular graphic excludes the laps led today.
And it's just been phenomenal. They've left a lot of other teams scratching their heads. Certainly, they've got the resources of their facilities in Poole, England, to help develop these Renard chassis, but they have been dominant in all the open tests on the permanent road courses, and no one can figure out exactly why. But Penske certainly back at the front of their game.
No change anywhere since we left you for the commercial break. Here is Brian Herta. He lies back in 5th place. And I actually expected to move up a little bit sooner. This race is important to him for any number of reasons. He's the 2-time and defending champion, and this is his 100th start. Jan?
Yes, well, consider, Paul, when he ran the car this morning, it was the first time he'd ever run the car here on full tank of fuel. He did not get to participate in the open test like all the other teams did. So I just spoke with the team and said they actually were just a little bit conservative at the start. They wanted to be sure the tire pressures came up, and that they are running the same program as most of the other teams as far as when they save fuel, when they don't. They say as soon as Brian gets more comfortable, gets a feel for that extra weight of the full fuel load, then they think as he gets lighter, he's going to start going for it.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with his owner, Jerry Forsythe. You know, they've not had the car going in most of the races, and they're going to bring Brian here and let him try and win again and complement those statistics that are right there. There's no question he's the king here.
And his performance this weekend has been absolutely phenomenal. To be dropped in towards the end of this championship series with the sort of competition that's deeper than any other open wheel series in the world, and perform the way he has, it'd be like coming into the 7th game of the World Series with all that pressure after you've been at spring training for a few months without much to do. Brian has done a tremendous job.
I think often we forget when we think about Brian Herta that he had a horrendous crash in the Indy Lights series, and it did massive damage to his legs and feet, and yet he never seems to show it at all. And you know, especially out on the hard ground of the paddock, he's got to be hurting.
And actually, that was in the Champ Car Series at Toronto when he was first driving for A.J. Foyt. I was right behind him when that accident occurred. They had lowered the car just a little bit. It bottomed, went into the corner that used to lead on the straightaway. It was nearly flat out, and it looked like a super speedway accident. It was unbelievable. And the fact that he's come back and he's driving so well, I mean, this guy really, really knows his stuff.
The rookie, Kenny Breck, right behind Brian Herta, leading in the rookie points battle right now. And if things go as they have throughout the season, there's little doubt that he will, in fact, take that rookie championship. But then again, we've still got 4 races to go, and some ground can be covered. A couple of DNFs could ruin that fight for Kenny Breck.
Imagine Brian Herta now looking in his mirror, seeing his car from the last few seasons. The driver really wants to make an impression, really put his fist down to say, hey, you know, I may have been gone from your team, but I'm certainly not going to let you beat me. Kenny Breck, on the other hand, has done a great job also this weekend. We've watched him all weekend long, using every inch of track, most of the time dropping wheels off in the dirt. How far away can his first win be? It can't be that long.
Yeah, when you watch him here, and we'll try to get in a little tight for you, look at how he handles each and every section of the race course. He'll run out further than everyone else. Now, we're only talking a matter of inches, but it does make a difference. Jan Beekes, you were the head driving instructor here at the school for a long time.
Yeah, that's true, Paul, and this is the section of the racetrack where you really hold your breath, as Parker was saying, through turn number 6. But for Kenny Breck, we were talking about Brian Herta looking in the mirror and seeing his old car. Well, remember that the man who ran the Rahal team last year was Tim Cindric. He now is running the Penske team. Now, I don't think it's any coincidence that the Penske cars are now 1-2. Seems like that setup has made its way over to Team Penske.
Jimmy Vasser, rookie Oriol Servia behind him. Again, Parker, that corner right there is the absolute key, is it not?
It really is, because if you want to make a pass and make it cleanly, you've got to get it done going into turn 2, which means you've got to focus all of your attention of getting down the hill off the corkscrew through 9 and 10. It's going to be right underneath the gearbox of the driver in front of you coming out of 11. So hopefully you can utilize a little bit of draft, hold your breath, break a little deeper than the guy, get inside him, force the issue, get him to the outside and back in. With the exception of going in there in turn 5, any place else here, you're taking huge risks for the possibility of disaster if the pass doesn't come off right on this track.
Now we want to take you back and on board with Mark Blundell.
He opened the show talking about the use of curbs. You'll watch when they come across those red and white FI8 curbs at the apex. Watch how it pounds the suspension, pounds the gearbox. Mark just missed it there.
Gary Gerald
Well, a little concerned. There were some observers who thought that maybe the engine on the 18 car, Mark Blundell's, running a bit rough, but he seems to be circulating, holding his position. When he comes to his first pit stop today, it's going to be a significant change because Darrell Fox, who's normally on the right front, injured a finger a couple of days to go. So Russell Cameron, who's among the team managers, is going to take his spot. And we are told that it's the first time since 1996 that Fox has missed a Blundell pit stop. That's an amazing record itself. Let's go to Jan.
Yes, Gary, speaking in more detail about Mark Blundell, in the Vancouver race, we mentioned that he might not be back with the Pac West team. In fact, a few moments ago, a team member told me that an announcement may come today that he will not be back with the team. So he really wants to show stuff. He has been talking with other teams around the paddock, and of course, this is his audition. If he can really show his stuff in this team, hopefully he can find a place for himself for next year in this championship.
Now, for my money, he is one of the good ones in the paddock and would be a good investment for anybody. Michel Jourdain Jr. runs just ahead of him, and if you look on the nose of that car, you'll see the star of Mercedes-Benz. Well, if you look there next year, you will not see it. Mercedes-Benz announced yesterday that they are not going to compete in the CART FedEx Championship Series next year, and the reason for that is given that they are going to focus on their Formula One effort and the incredible competitiveness there. They think they need all the research and R&D assets to deal with that series, plus some of the sports car stuff they want to do.
And that's going to put a huge strain on Honda, Toyota, and Ford Cosworth, because it's just not as simple as saying, well, gee, I want engines. Keep in mind that the engine companies, although they do charge for their engines in most cases, are supplementing each of these teams to the tune of millions of dollars for all the research and development that goes in to building just a handful of engines. And right now, talking to some of the engine manufacturers, it takes at least a year's lead time to gear up not only for dyno space, for the necessary personnel back at the shop to build the engines and do the rebuilds, but also for the track personnel. It's just not as simple as ordering an engine. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out for next year and which teams will end up getting which engines and how the engine manufacturers will divvy up those that are coming from Mercedes.
Well, in that Mercedes thing, we also have not yet heard from Ilmor Engineering, who actually builds the engines for Mercedes. I was taking a look at Adrian Fernandez, looking at Tagliani. That we're still not sure if Ilmor might not service some customers or if they're totally out as well, or is it they might create a new deal. Patrick Racing Team right there. Adrian Fernandez, the green and red car, followed by Roberto Moreno, currently powered by Fords, and that may be up for change as well. But those cars all battle back in the field right now. At the front, it remains Helio Castroneves at front, Gilles de Ferran, Dario Franchitti, Juan Montoya, and Brian Herta. Those are the top five. And there is Helio Castroneves. He has completed 13 laps in the lead and is just kind of steadily pulling away from his teammate. Now has a 2-second interval on Gilles de Ferran. Now, as we go away to commercial, we want to do a little study of the corkscrew. Super slow motion. Look at the hands, the constant movement. We'll be back.
Here's to the thrill you never outgrow. That unforgettable feeling of flying. Feel that ageless thrill again at the one theme park with the most rides on Earth. Six Flags Great Adventure.
Save $10 with a specially marked Coca-Cola product can.
Enter a vast world of water adventure. The new Six Flags Hurricane Harbor. It's America's largest water park. Next to Six Flags Great Adventure.
I was an industrial designer for 35 years. While my body may have downshifted, my mind is not. I have a lot of ideas.
Well, Ed had this idea for growing bigger tomatoes.
Getting better mileage.
Winterizing.
Waterproofing.
Catching more trout.
Now every person has a place to help develop, protect, and even sell their ideas, large and small.
You know, when you're reporting from the field, bloopers are going to happen.
USFL people, George is...
You've got to be kidding.
Sports Center, Lou Palmer, ESPN.
My personal favorite? Gotta be Melissa Stark in the Asteroid.
This week at Pebble Beach, the second hole. It's been a pushover par 5 the previous 3 opens here.
Run it again.
ESPN's 2-Minute Drill, the ultimate sports quiz show, premieres tomorrow at 7.
Here's a little telling shot for you at Laguna Seca Raceway. Look how low they ride and how they head over the curb.
A game of inches. Look how close these guys are. But we talked about using the curves or more. Look what Montoya does. And that's at over 200 feet per second coming off of turn number 4.
Unfortunately, every time he does that, it tends to throw a little of that dust and sand up on the track, and that doesn't help all that much. Castro Neves is still the leader. Nothing has changed up at the front, but there has been a change since we left you back in 17th position. When we left you, it was Roberto Moreno who was behind Fernandez, and you see that he is now ahead of him. How did he get there? Here's that shot. Coming down into turn 2, Fernandez gets wide. Moreno takes advantage of it.
And that's just about as simple as it gets. Fernandez picked up a lot of push, carried a little bit too much entry speed. Moreno a little bit more conservative, focused on the exit, managed to get by right at the apex.
That gave Moreno 17th and put him up so he can now fight with Tagliani. And he looks like he's faster than Tagliani. Jan, what do you think?
Well, that may not be hard, Paul, because Alex Tagliani's got trouble right now. As he goes by me, you can hear the engine is off song. It sounds to me like it's either something in the drivetrain or it might be an exhaust header. But the team has radioed to Alex to say, just keep going until it gets worse.
Well, there is an interval, a considerable interval, actually, from Cristiano D'Amata back to Tagliani. There's Tag, Moreno right behind him. Look ahead here.
Yeah, it's just about 5 seconds, actually, up to Cristiano D'Amata. And the teams monitor these transmissions, and if Roberto Moreno knows that not only is he faster, but the car in front of them is having a mechanical problem, he's going to be all over the back of Tag to try to exploit that problem and make up that ground at D'Amata.
Hey, Parker, a quick question from the pits. Can a driver hear if the car in front of him is running off song?
Yes, you can, Gary, and he's close enough to certainly hear that, and he's probably also seeing it the performance deteriorate because they're both running Ford Cosworth engines. They're both in Renard chassis. And right now, Moreno is all over the back of Tag. The catching Tag and passing Tag are two different things.
Now, you just heard them radio a change in fuel mapping position for Alex Tagliani. I'm sure what that's going to do. This is the...
try and wait for a full course yellow, so just keep going. Keep going until we tell you to stop.
The view down from the Honda Helicam.
And you can see Moreno's problem there is Tagliani's very good coming off that last corner, turn number 11. So Moreno's unable to try to get a pass done into turn 2, but now coming through this section of the course and up to the corkscrew, look how much quicker Moreno is. He's got to get off this corner and then try to duck to the inside coming into turn 5, but he's not close enough to do that.
Now this is a climb. It's starting up toward the top of the corkscrew, the highest elevation on this track.
They climb an additional nearly 100 feet from turn 5 up to the top of the corkscrew. And then from here, they'll drop 160 feet back down to turn number 11.
Now sweeping downhill. And that's just like a roller coaster ride. Parker was dragging me around in the Honda camera car the other day and had me sitting facing backwards as we were doing it. It's an extra thrill that way.
And huge G-loading as the cars load up coming down that hill. But once again, you can see Tagliani very quick off that last corner. I'm a little surprised. I thought Roberto would be able to get this pass done much sooner. But he just can't seem to utilize his advantage in a place where he can get around Tagliani.
And they talk about the series and how competitive it is. And it truly is. Guys are just trying to gain inches on one another with each lap. Now, here is Moreno, probably well aware that that car in front of him is not 100%. And he's trying to inch up, find the smooth, swift place that he can come past. But finding that on a course like Laguna Seca can be a miserable chore.
And if Moreno makes the slightest mistake coming off of turn 6 here, coming off of turn 9, coming off of turn 11, Moreno could take advantage of that mistake, but so far we haven't seen Tagliani make one mistake yet during this run.
I'm going to take you to Shinji Nakano. His team owner has been laughing and trying to get us to use his European nickname, which is Jimmy the Rocket. And so we agreed with Derek Walker. We would do that for him.
Well, one time.
No, we've done it twice now. So Nakano back at 22nd on the pit straight and back to the front of the field. Elio Castroneves. You don't get quite as much television time when you pull out a 2.5-second lead on everybody else. But for Elio, I think he'd probably loving every second of it. That's neat to see a clear road ahead and fairly clear road behind.
And as we've seen in the past, he's so smooth, very much like Dario Franchitti. Uses up every bit of track, but never too much, as we see Montoya often does. It's very difficult sometimes to see when Castroneves is actually on a quick lap because he is so smooth with the brakes and with his hands and coming off the corners.
Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy. Ongoing fight at 11th place with Tony Kanaan there, watching, waiting. Paul Tracy did not seem all that dissatisfied with the fact that he qualified back in the field.
Well, and if you look at the stats on Paul Tracy, remember at Road America he had dropped to essentially was dead last after the opening lap, came back to win. He had won from Long Beach from 17th place. Really, depending on the circuit and what sort of car Paul's got underneath him, it really hasn't stopped him in the past. But right now we can see there is parity throughout the field. It's not a matter of turbulence like we've seen on the ovals. It's just all of these drivers, all of these teams are so good that as we start counting down the laps towards this first pit stop, unless someone's chassis goes off, it's going to be very difficult to take advantage of the driver in front of you without taking an enormous risk.
And we are trying something a little new for him. We've been testing it the past couple races, and a lot of software changes. Their audio gang is working into it, but you'll notice from time to time during the radio transmission, you'll see the actual name of the team come out there. That allows us to scan a broader selection of frequencies, and then hopefully Parker and I will shut up whenever they're actually talking. So trying to get Parker stopped is sometimes a break-safe situation. The beautiful coast of the Monterey Peninsula, there are the top 5 in the field. There is no change in that whatsoever. Parker's put his headset down and it's left the booth. When you come to Monterey, we don't only have fun here. Everybody has a good time. There is a lot to do. And there's no question it's a family sport. We'll be back.
Dr. DeBreeze, the plastic surgeon of Beverly Hills.
Dr. DeBreeze, thanks to you, I miss June and July.
Dr. DeBreeze. Dr. Bouchon, bonsoir. Barney.
How do you do it?
Well, I am using a new plumping product called Selexica.
Lexicon?
That stuff doesn't work.
Doesn't he know? It's being banned in Japan. Doctor, thank you so much for my buttocks.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to FT.com and get in-depth business news and analysis from every corner of the globe.
When it's wet, Bridgestone worn tires can perform longer with this breakthrough. Unity AQ Advanced Tire Technology. Like a tire inside a tire. With extended performance rubber compound and dual layer tread. Even as it wears down, wet performance stays up. Better cornering. Quicker stops. Get wet performance that lasts with Unity AQ. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
Local breweries. Beer shipped the same day it was born. Refrigerated distribution centers. Daily deliveries. Our exclusive Born on Dating. That's how we guarantee Budweiser is the freshest beer choice out there.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought them manufacturers' championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies. Fortunately, this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
Over in the Penske pit, the captain, Roger Penske, and his team manager, Tim Cindric, there on the left, keeping track of Helio Castroneves, the race leader, and Bill DeFerrin, who currently runs in second. Nothing has changed since we left you. But we are now beginning to close down on pit stops.
And we're looking in the next 4, 5, maybe 6 laps for these guys to start to come in. To make it in 2 stops, well, they have to go 28 laps. Other people are going to try to stretch it farther. I expect to see that from the Pat Patrick team, with Jim McGee always at the forefront of interesting pit strategy and trying to figure out how to work the game to their advantage. But we should start entering the window for pit stops here shortly.
There's Mauricio Guzman driving for the Pac West team. He's running 7th right now. He's had only 4 top 10s all year. It has not been his best year. But still, he's one of the better drivers on the circuit. Head of the Championship Drivers Association and immensely well-liked, though he had a pretty tough day on Friday.
Well, he did. We talked a little bit about track safety earlier. Mauricio has been the top Mercedes qualifier very often during the course of this year. So he's done an outstanding job with what he's had available. But on Friday afternoon, after the first round of qualifying, after the slow group went out.
That's why we just want to keep the captain back up. He's catching a little, but we've got good volleys. We're in about 3 now. Keep it up. Just push a little bit harder.
Anderson staying in touch with his driver. You were saying about Friday.
Well,
good job for stopping, by the way.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
After Carpenter's accident, Hart shut down qualifying, brought Mauricio and the drivers in. They did a quick inspection of the circuit just to make sure that everything was being done that could be done to continue on safely. And Mauricio, the most professional, one of the most dedicated presidents of the Championship Drivers Association, I think, in a very long time. Outstanding off the track and on the track.
I want to run you back and take a look at this battle. Vassar and Servia. It's the closest battle on the track. Look at them climb that hill. Heading all the way up to the top of the Corkscrew. And when you come down,
and when you come over the top, Paul, considering that the driver's point of view is only 20-some-odd inches off the racetrack, all you see is sky. You lead with your feet, the car goes to 0, almost negative G's, it then lands, you're back on the brakes, and then all you see are treetops. That's your reference point for the turn-in and turn 8, and then just everything falls away. And once again, you get completely light in the car, 0 G's, and then the car slams back on the deck and heading down into turn 9.
Jimmy, countdown 3.
Just huge G-loading.
So the plan for Jimmy Vassar to come in 3, his teammate, of course, is Montoya, sitting up in 4th place right now. Now there's the view, climbing the hill, and then it's a blind corner when they get up here.
Just sky from the driver's point of view.
Now, one of the things in the change at the top of the Corkscrew that they affected since last year was they moved, didn't cut down, but they actually moved a number of the trees. And when the drivers first came out on Friday and out during the test that they had a little earlier here, they were all saying, I've totally lost my reference point here because it was the top of a tree.
And speaking with Jimmy Vassar, Jimmy and I grew up down in this area. He's been racing here for a very, very long time. He said, Parker, the first time I came up over the top of the rise, I had no idea where the track went. I was completely lost. Said it took him a number of laps during that open test to regain his bearings. But Jimmy Vassar, hometown boy here, has a lot of people out watching him. And is one of the drivers whose future is up in the air for next year. He's got lots of different options. It'll just be interesting to see where he ends up.
Well, one of the two of you grew up here. The other, I'm not so sure he's totally grown up here.
Man, that's a tough boot.
I always say Parker is a 7-year-old caught in his whole body.
I won't deny it.
Jimmy Vassar back to Montoya. 4th place. Nothing changes at the front. Pit stops now begin. Tagliani, can they make the changes that they need? Well, if it's what Jan Beekes reported, then there's very little chance that they're going to change anything, and they certainly didn't look like they were going to try other than refuel the car and get it back out.
And this is a little early. This is about 2 laps earlier than I would have expected. Because to do it in 2 stops, they have to go 28 laps. You can see Castroneves still out on the track.
Yeah, the 2 Penske car leaders, they stay out, and they're going to catch up very quickly. Here's Frank Keating.
In the first pit, Paul, he ducked in. He came in very in attack mode. That's the first pit. Now as the revs go up, they've made a wing change, giving more swing. They've adjusted tire pressures, we're told. He now hits that 50-mile-per-hour limit all the way down the road.
And it looks like they made absolutely sure that they got every drop of fuel in that car. He can't accelerate until they pass the end of this wall here. The Catalonian, Servia, comes into the pits, makes his stop for the PPI team. Interesting in that the Craftsman pit stop battle that goes on throughout the year. PPI is now the second-place team in that, behind the Patrick team. So this is a very efficient crew that you're watching work. Kicked the back end, gave him a nice exit from the pits. And Servia comes back to the pike. Gil DeFerrin won his first race here. Castroneves, his teammate, comes in. Jan Beekes, he's on his way to you.
Yes, we've got both the Penske cars on the way. We know for Gil DeFerrin, they're going to give him one turn away. For Emil Castroneves, they're expecting to make no changes. When you hear that reset the fuel meter, that's just in case the telemetry goes out. Revs are definitely high enough. 12.2, and DeFerrin is still there. Looked like DeFerrin had a little longer stop than Castroneves, and Brian Herta is up getting his service. And they also await Kenny Breck. Looks like a good stop for Brian Herta.
That's a view from Steve Reagan's helmet on Brian Herta's car. Herta's back out.
And keep in mind that Hilliard, Ohio team has been dormant all year long. These guys have been dropped in the thick of it. They haven't done pit stops since the beginning of the year.
Well, at least not pit stops in the heat of battle as Christian Fittipaldi comes in. I'm sure they practice them probably about every day, as most of these teams do.
Hold it. Go. Reed is right behind you.
Here is Montoya. We expect him in shortly. Fortunately, with cars coming out in front of him, he's gotten caught into the thick of it. Now he makes the left-hand turn onto the pit road. Gary?
Okay, right here.
He's ready to pounce into action now. He got a lap further than the other race leaders, which is encouraging for the Toyota power plant.
On the way out. Here comes the wait. Wait on fuel. Ready? Go.
Saw the car start to move at one point as he engaged the clutch, but he controlled it very nicely, got out in our clock at 12.2.
That comes on the 29th lap. Leaders have been in. Here is Kenny Breck.
Great job of extending the run to lap 30.
And the points leader, Michael Andretti. He comes in from 5th.
Obviously, the Ford's getting very good mileage. And for a lot of the drivers that pitted before lap 28, they will be praying for a yellow in order to stretch it to the end. Because you've got to go at least 28 laps twice and then the final run at 27 to make it to the checkered flag if there's no yellow.
Well, that battle in the pits changed nothing at the front of the field. Elio Castroneves came out, but as mentioned, it looked like DeFerrin had a little bit of a problem. And as a result, look up the hill here for second place. Yep, it's Montoya. DeFerrin drops back to 3rd. As Montoya was heading into the pits, we want to show you that's just before he headed in. This is coming up to the Corkscrew.
That's Tagliani that nearly puts him into the fence on the left side there. You can see him go right for the push-to-talk button with his left thumb, obviously communicating some frustration back to his owner, Chip Ganassi, about that move.
Now, but the crew did for him what he couldn't do on the track. They got him second place. Tagliani, who was voted most friendly driver after the run at Vancouver last week. I'm enjoying Laguna Seca. There's the pit summary with DeFerrin dropping down to 3rd. Didn't work well for Herta either. Montoya, the big winner in that pit round. Vassar and Servia came out relative to one another once again, and they're still at it. It's a battle for 9th place right now with Jimmy Vassar occupying that spot.
Both drivers with Toyota power.
Whoa, D'Amata, that's turn 2, bottom of the hill. I wonder if he's going to get up to speed fast enough and save the position, or if Fernandez will grab it away from him.
Okay, nice and easy. Get your rear to back. You'll be fine.
That's Mark Johnson from PPI talking to Cristiano. And it looks like he's been able to keep Fernandez and the rest of the group behind him.
Yeah, but Fernandez is now going to be right there and threatening. So a quick incident that was not as costly as it could have been for Cristiano D'Amata, who has also, by the way, been the subject of incredible conversations on who's going where next year as the silly season continues. This was Michael's pit stop on that first round. It'll be an overhead view, and we'll come right back.
This is how a single second of your weekend feels on a 155 horsepower XLT 1200 wave runner from Yamaha. So we thought you'd find it interesting to know that you get 172,800 seconds every single weekend. Yamaha, the most popular boat on the water.
Through October, get 000 financing until March 2001 on all new 2001 models.
The fuel's at 1.7. Should I pit? Got a pit. Does not pit! No pit, no pit, no pit, no pit.
Take a look at this. I've got a pit.
No!
Right now.
No pit! Pit! No! Pit! Pit! No pit! 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 Pit!
From microchips and engine control systems to wireless communications, Motorola technology is bringing the action closer to everyone.
I told you should pit.
I told you should pit.
I told you.
Honey, can you just put the channel, please?
MSN Internet Access.
How about some sort of sports thing? What about
16:9 digital TV.
going on?
And a digital camcorder for catching all of those first steps.
Turn on the fun, Best Buy.
That's my boy. Now this is the fierce snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him, and it's all over. Yo! Oh, no worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America via FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
As we take a look down on the beautiful course of the Monterey Peninsula, don't forget the PGA Bell Canadian Open. Tiger Woods was tied for the lead as they came into today's play, and the coverage will come later. The PGA Tour on ESPN. He is a Tiger. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Tony Kanaan came into the pits in 13th position. He left in 22nd. Apparently, he had several problems stalling the engine. Now, Parker, while we're watching Helio Castroneves, the leader, talk a little bit about those pits because they are uphill. When we were watching Michael, for example, he's down at the far outside of the pits, and he's actually sitting on a hill. So he's got to hold that car and get it rolling. And anybody that remembers back to their first days of trying to drive a standard transmission car knows that's the one thing for the first several months you absolutely tried to avoid was starting on a hill.
But the problem with these cars is they virtually have no flywheel, little tiny clutches. It's very, very difficult to get the clutch engaged under the best of circumstances without stalling it. As you said, from the first pit to the last pit, there's probably a 35-foot incline, and at the very end, the last number of pits, it's very steeply inclined. The drivers have to be very careful trying to right foot brake, holding the throttle up with the base of their foot. And the only thing you can do when it's time to go is put that thing on the rev limiter, sidestep the clutch, and hope the thing hooks up and launches out as it's supposed to.
Well, the combination of the pit stops and the quick little off course for Cristiano D'Amata has worked to the benefit of Roberto Moreno. He is third in this line, started 19th, now runs in 15th position. Just ahead of him there is Patrick Carpentier, and then Max Pappas ahead of him. And when we're thinking about Carpentier, remember that crash that we showed you? He was very stiff yesterday, so it didn't seem to be as sore as I thought he would be, but I think he was in a lot of discomfort, and it can't be very pleasant to be in that cockpit.
Well, we saw him immediately after the accident, and his neck, upper and lower back were very, very sore. As you said, he was very stiff. Yesterday when we spoke with him, he actually looked like he had regained a lot of mobility. but still, it was just a horrendous wreck. He doesn't remember much about it, even though he never lost consciousness. He just didn't know quite where he was. But it can't be good to suffer that sort of accident and come back driving this particular circuit, because it does really take a physical toll during the course of the 83 laps.
Well, if you want to talk about Penske dominance, look at the fast lap chart. It's all Penske.
Well, we've seen that all year long. Their test back at Mid-Ohio, their test here, their test at Road America. They were just the class of the field. Everyone else trying to figure out what those highly modified Penske chassis are doing. You know, how they're able to get the power down so well from the Honda engines. The Honda people have been working a lot with all their teams on drivability, making sure that the mapping doesn't allow the tires to explode coming off the low-speed corners like this corner, turn 11. And if you get that all done right, it just makes for superior lap times.
Montoya nibbling away at Helio Castroneves. He, of course, too, in this silly season, has been the subject of a good deal of conversation, like maybe the worst-kept secret on the planet right now. My guess is the announcement comes at the U.S. Grand Prix at Indianapolis that he's probably not going to be in this series next year. Jan?
Well, Paul, I think the fans know that as well. All you have to do is look at one of these banners on the front straightaway. See that second O, or the first O, rather, BMW. That, of course, would be the make that he would drive next year, the Colombian colors in the background. It's a pretty creative banner here. And, of course, they see themselves on the jumbo screen and said, yep, I knew that banner was going to pay off.
Well, they made it big enough. That is one of the things here. Because it is a natural terrain road course, the fans can wander anywhere they want. Get up on the hills. There are some terrific views at Laguna Seca. Montoya still second, 3.3 now behind the leader, Helio Castroneves. DeFerrin has not been able to challenge Montoya from third place. He's 4 seconds back from Montoya. Back with Shinji Nakano.
You look at the number 33.1 on his steering wheel. During that first round of pit stops, Jan mentioned he was talking about the fuel reset as we watched the leaders come into the pits. In case the telemetry data went down, for the drivers, this number on the steering wheel, if they lose communication with the pits or the telemetry data, on the fuel counter, if that number comes up as they cross start finish, they know they have to pit the next lap. So it's sort of the last thing in the loop that if something goes wrong with communications, whether it's verbal or telemetry, the drivers know if they go past that number and don't pit, they'll be out of fuel on the track.
And those steering wheels are so cool. On Car Today from time to time, Jan Pikus, as part of the technical section, is able to tell you about all the different adjustments and readings and everything you can get off the modern race car steering wheel. And as soon as somebody's not looking, one of them's going to be moving. Climbing the hill, Kenny Breck. Look at the roughness of this track. No criticism of the track. It's just the way these cars sit on this well-used circuit.
Well, and it's the same thing we saw at Road America. The track surface itself is actually very smooth, but it's the drivers using up every single inch of road, curbing, and then some. We talked about Kenny Breck being one of the drivers who goes from the very inside to the very outside. This is a game of inches. Watch how he hangs the left side tires off the curb, still in contact there. And Paul, as we said at the opening of the show, you can see the dust spray there. Not good for trailing drivers, but if you use just another inch or two, the suspension, the driveline take a real pounding, and I think that's why we've seen some of the recent failures.
Kenny Breck currently 6th place. He's only 21 seconds back from the leader. So while Castroneves is indeed pulling away from second, or not really pulling away, but has a pretty good lead on Montoya. Montoya is whittling it down. It's right at 3 seconds even right now. The rest of that group, while not in contest, is pretty tight on the leader. So anything goes wrong, they can all be right there. Taking you back to Max Pappas, 13th place. Carpentier, Moreno right behind him. The leader right now is beginning to overhaul some traffic, so that may become an issue here shortly as well.
And it certainly will, because with this track being 2.2 miles, if you're about ready to get lapped, as we see Alex Barron here about ready to be overhauled by Castroneves, you're going to do everything possible to keep that guy behind you. If a yellow were to come out and you would just let him by trying to do the right thing like he's just done, if a yellow were to come out, Alex Barron would just, he would just be overcome, because he knows there's no way to get back in the fight, back on the lead lap. But now, Castroneves has his work cut out. because there's a whole group of cars in front of him with Jourdain, Kanaan, Gidley, and Tagliani and Blundell just seconds in front of him.
Alex Barron, of course, replacing Takuya Kurosawa for the remainder of the season while Kurosawa recovers from injury. Here's the front of the field. Mamo Gidley, we're watching him. He started 26, steadily moving up. He's now 21st. So as we leave you, again, some of those beautiful super slow-mo shots of the guys in the Corkscrew.
You can watch a lot of magazine shows, but there's a new one that lets you see what it's like to work in a hurricane. Join the Chase Barnett 5 tornado, or see how people have tried to use weather as a weapon. Watch Atmospheres from the Weather Channel starting August 23rd. You've never seen weather like this before.
Hurricanes, tornadoes, it's all part of Atmospheres, the hour-long magazine show from the experts at the Weather Channel on Cablevision.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Are you buried under layers of debt? Well, if you own a home, getting out from under can be as easy as 1, 2, 3. Home 1, 2, 3.
The loan counselors at Home 1, 2, 3 will show you how to consolidate your monthly payments into one low monthly payment that could be as little as half of what you're paying now. In this example, that would be almost $500 extra in your pocket every month. Think what you could do with that. There's no obligation, so call this number now to speak to the loan counselors at Home 1, 2, 3. It's how to get the money you need.
10,000.
What the hell's going on out here?
Before Lombardi came to Green Bay, the Packers were a laughing stock.
Lombardi definitely wanted to be the best.
That's the kind of a guy he was, an egomaniac.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing.
He ruled by fear.
He took the spirit of the sport and elevated it.
Vince Lombardi, Sports Century, the top 50 and beyond. Tomorrow at 8, kicking off a week of sports legends, only on ESPN Classic. To get ESPN Classic, call 1-800-CLASSIC today.
NFL Sunday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Arizona Cardinals. ESPN and ABC, your exclusive home for primetime NFL football. Back at Laguna Seca Raceway, it is still Elio Castroneves, though now he's got to work his way through traffic, and that can be very tedious. Look at that group ahead of him. No slouch in that group, so he's going to have to fight for each and every pass he makes, and they certainly, none of them are interested in going a lap down. Here's Max Pappas and Roberto Moreno. Now, Carpentier was in the midst of this when we left you, but you don't see him now, and here's why.
Side by side with Max coming up and over turn number 1. Into the braking area for turn number 2. Max now looking back down the inside.
And fairly grabbed that position.
And as we watch Max Pappas, consider how much success the Ray Hall team has had here in the past. It was 1 year ago where Max Pappas had his first podium finish here. His teammate winning the race. He finished 3rd. Max has had 4 podiums since then, including his first win in the season opener at Homestead.
Max Pappas re-signed for next year with Bobby Ray Hall, as has Brian Herta. So that team is all put together. It's got to be a comfortable feeling to have the team all tucked in and ready to go long before the end of the season. Some of these other teams do not have that advantage.
Well, really, there are only a handful. We know that Team Penske's set for next year. We know that Team Green is set with its current drivers. Maybe an additional one to be announced soon. And then, as you said, we've got Ray Hall's team with Kenny Breck and Max Pappas. And other than that, it's just about wide open.
And you know what's interesting in all of that is, and we're going to look back here through the field, in all of that, we're not hearing a lot of rookie new guys' names mentioned in there. It all seems like, for the most part, with the possible exception of Ganassi, it's going to be a change within drivers already in the series.
A lot of the veteran drivers that'll be on waivers for next year have already signed options with a number of owners, and the drivers are just trying to put the best combination of driver sponsorship and equipment packages together, and it's changing not from day to day, but from hour to hour.
Gary Gerald.
Well, Montoya's getting a little frustrated here, and Chip Ganassi, they've been lobbying the cart officials. Alex Barron in front of Montoya. He's always tough to get around, and Daryl Franchitti had some very pointed remarks about that last week at Vancouver. We're watching one of the officials acknowledge Ganassi now, and apparently race control is into this situation. We'll see if Barron gives way.
They've already gotten around him, Gary.
They have gotten
him. Montoya's there.
Thank you.
But consider the Castroneves lead over Montoya was 2.57 seconds only 2 laps ago. In this last lap, he had cut it down to 1.2 seconds. If you're Castroneves, if you're getting bad brakes, you're just hoping that the guy that's chasing you is also getting bad brakes in traffic.
There's the separation, first to second, Castroneves to Montoya.
And that time the interval jumped up to 1.7 seconds, so Castroneves gained a half a second on that lap. But still, look at the line of cars in front of Castroneves. Montoya's got to get around Tony Kanaan. As I said a little earlier when he was looking at the back of Alex Barron, if you're in this position, you're Tony Kanaan, even though the leader's gotten by, you just aren't going to give up that easily. But once you do let the leader go by, you do have a certain responsibility to let the rest of the field go by as well.
It's fun, too, to talk to the drivers and hear the changing attitudes on the use of the blue passing flag, which is only an advisory that somebody's there, or maybe the furled black flag, which tells you to maybe move that thing over. But one week when they're in front, all the guys would say, oh, no, they got to fight to get past us. But when they're behind, then the argument goes, you know, you need to move those guys over a little faster. John Beacon.
Well, you know, some of the teams take that into their own hands, and the Penske team is one of those. And you'll notice that Castroneves is right up behind Michel Jourdain. Well, he was, as I started to talk anyway, and that is that the Penske team has been next door to his pit asking for some help. And right now, he's still behind Jourdain.
Castroneves has to be so careful here, sliding in between Jourdain and Mimo Gidley. And you can see there, Tony Kanaan finally moved over to let Montoya through. What you don't want to do is these two guys are in their own battle, and if you're Castroneves, you don't want to get caught in the middle of an accident while these two guys are fighting, because they may not be paying attention to where you are. But I have to believe with that bright orange and white car that they can't help but see the leader all over the backside of them.
Tagliani, Michel Jourdain Jr. ahead of Castroneves. Look at this, Moreno. Moreno moves on Pappas. Wow! It almost takes him to the wall coming off the corner.
You can see Moreno try to push him back to the inside. Max got a better exit. He said, fine, you've got back inside me. Now watch Moreno try to get back in. No, he's just going to stay on the outside here. That was some heads-up driving by Max Pappas. He said, all right, you're underneath me, go ahead. But I think Moreno just carried way too much entry speed into turn 11 trying to make that pass stick. Watch as he comes down the inside now. He tukes out to the inside. Look how much more speed he carried. All we had to do was get side by side with Max and just hold him to the outside. Then he tries to push him back against the inside wall. He ran him down. You can see how dirty the track is there. Max says, fine, pal, you're going to do that. Going to move you back towards the outside. Nice bit of driving there by Max Pappas.
They got a car off course to the left. One of the observers suggests it's Moreno.
And it is.
So.
And it looks like he's hit everything but the tires that were there to cushion the blow.
So Roberto Moreno is out of the car. We got a couple other cars off.
Yeah, we can see Tagliani.
So that makes you wonder if there's not oil or dust on that corner. Oh, suddenly action down there in 5.
Yeah, it would be easy to speculate initially that Max and Roberto had a problem. You can see Max clearly out front. Moreno comes smoking inside, gets wide, misses the tires, contacts the concrete.
Moreno had a second place here last year, substituting for Christian Fittipaldi. He was hoping for more.
You can see he was just high on the entry to turn 5. That dirt is very, very hard packed. It's almost like concrete with sand on top of it. No chance of really slowing down very much before the contact with the barrier. Here's the head-on shot. You can see Max had made that repass stuck. Gets on the brakes. Look how much ground Moreno's trying to make up here. Just brings in too much speed, gets a little high outside of the groove. Catches part of the trap. That does absolutely nothing. Spins around and hits the front of the car with the wall.
We go to a full course yellow. The pace car will come out. Safety team wants to get both Tagliani and Moreno's cars out of jeopardy there. We're looking down from the Honda helicam right now on the exit of turn 5. Why was Moreno driving like that?
Well, obviously they had a territorial dispute going in 11, a little bit into 2, and he just got in there too hard. It looked like a little bit of the red mist on the entry of 5. But I tell you, Paul, for the guys that pitted a little bit early and were off schedule, this yellow was exactly what they needed to get back on schedule. They will be diving into the pits with this full course yellow.
47th lap completed by the leader, and Helio Castroneves is on the pit road. Jan Beekes.
Yes, he is. And we will see if they decide to make any changes for him. Obviously, they had a bit of warning. They knew that Moreno was off course.
Yeah, we got a problem for Juan Montoya. On the left front, they can't get the wheel on. The jack collapsed. They get a manual jack out. Now they'll go and get the wheel on. All other service is complete. As soon as that wheel's engaged, they'll let him go.
Hey, Gary, we almost had contact between Gilles de Ferran and Dario Franchitti. Ooh, Dario is not going to be happy with that one. What happened was Gilles de Ferran had a slow pit stop. Dario was coming, and Gilles de Ferran just pulled up right in front of him and said, sorry, I'm going first. That was close.
Looks like Franchitti's going to go up and talk about it. They're under full course caution. Here's Montoya again.
Car comes up on the air, the wheels come off, and you can see the front jag sack.
Everything.
Jag sack there. And now it's, what do we do? Where's that jack at? What else could go wrong for this guy this year? He's led more than twice as many laps as any other driver. He's been absolutely dominant in statistics, and now we watch the tussle between Dario and Gilles de Ferran. The pit lane here, very, very narrow. It's 50 miles an hour, which may seem fast in a production car, but the crew chiefs, once they get that service done, aren't intimidated by cars coming down the pit lane, and they just launch their drivers in front of or into whoever may be coming down the pit road.
Well, that one was costly for Montoya. Keeps Castroneves in front and puts Gilles de Ferran back into second place, and Montoya has fallen all the way to 7th. They do keep the manual jacks ready over the wall. They prefer never to use them. We'll be back with more from Laguna Seca.
Dr. DeBreeze, the plastic surgeon of Beverly Hills.
Dr. DeBreeze, thanks to you, I missed June and July.
Dr. DeBreeze, bonsoir, party.
How do you do it?
Well, I am using a new plumping product called Selexical.
Lexicon?
That stuff doesn't work.
Doesn't he know? It's being banned in Japan. Doctor, thank you so much for my clinics.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to FT.com and get in-depth business news and analysis from every corner of the globe.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought them manufacturers' championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies. Fortunately, this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
Now this is the fierce snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him and it's all over. Yo! Oh, no worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America via FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
Tonight on ESPN at 7:30 NFL Primetime. At 8:30, a great rivalry matchup as the Cowboys invade the Cardinals. And at 11:30, Sports Center. On ESPN2 at 7:30, Baseball Tonight. At 9:30, RPM Tonight. And at 10:30, AMA Motocross. And on ESPN Classic at 9, Real Classics presents Pastime. And at 11, Michael Jordan tries his luck at minor league baseball. Do you have all the ESPN networks?
Today's coverage on ESPN Speed World of the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey is being brought to you by Budweiser. With the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer, this Bud's for you. By Bridgestone, a grip on the future. And by Best Buy. When you're looking for more fun in your life, turn on the fun with the latest in digital technology at Best Buy. There's so much going on in the world of motorsports now. It takes RPM tonight an hour to get you totally up to speed on everything. That's tonight, 9:30, 6:30 Pacific, RPM tonight. For more, log on to ESPN.com. We'll give you the full field rundown right now. This is under a full course caution. Pace car is out. You can see the flashing lights up there ahead. Still can't figure out exactly what Moreno was thinking, but boy, when he gets behind the wheel, that otherwise calm and smiling little man is a bulldog. And we saw a good example of it there.
Yeah, he rarely makes mistakes, but obviously he was frustrated about the pass that didn't go as planned down in turn 11. Came back trying to make up 3-4 car lengths under braking for turn number 5. I think he just got in there too hot and slid off.
So as they move behind the pace car, and the pace car is catching the rest of the field, they're trying to get the field recycled around. Helio Castroneves has now collected the bonus point for the most laps led. So bonus point for the pole, bonus for most laps led. But he's taken him away from his teammate as well as everyone else. And there is the summary on the stop. Pappas hasn't pitted. Haven't seen a pit stop yet by the Newman-Haas team. And Montoya, he did good on the last stop, and on this one just now, not nearly as good. So while they get the field reorganized here at Laguna Seca Raceway, which is going to take some time to get it done, we'll be back with more after we take another great look at running on the curbs.
The red one. The blue one. The yellow one. The white one. Lots of silvers. Lots of golds. But there's just something about red.
Being a two-time Entertainer of the Year is a full-time job. And so's building award-winning homes. That's why Fleetwood Homes is proud to sponsor the Neil McCoy Tour, the best in country music from the best in manufactured homes.
Hey, I'm Neil McCoy, and I'm proud to call Fleetwood home. Come on down to your local Fleetwood retailer and see why.
Where's the center of the tech world? Tokyo? I don't think so.
Yeah, center is best described by use of the Fourier vortex theory.
Let me get back to you. Whoa! Not here! Tech world? Anyone?
Looking for the center of the tech world?
I think I found it.
Maybe it's where the most highly respected, highly successful tech companies are found. The New York Stock Exchange.
Think the Fed's gonna raise interest rates?
You know what I love about Hong Kong?
What's that?
No leash. No way for the office to keep tabs on you.
Hello? Really? It's official? No, thank you.
What is that?
Nextel Worldwide works everywhere we do.
Well, that just means you're going to have to work everywhere, Bob.
Actually, it means you do. I just got promoted. You work for me.
Introducing Nextel Worldwide. One phone, one number, worldwide.
Sign up for Nextel National Business Plan by September 30th and get free incoming cellular calls.
Welcome back to the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey, Laguna Seca, California. The Kart FedEx Championship Series still under a full course caution. And the reason we're under the full course caution is Roberto Moreno chasing Max Pappas.
Well, there was a little history up to this point, but you can see Moreno tried to make up a lot of distance under braking, got a little wide out of the groove, back and rotates as he gets up into the banking, and it's off into the sand. Hartley slows him down. Car comes around, misses the tires, hits the nose along the concrete wall.
Shortly thereafter, Alex Tagliani got in the same area. Paul Tracy just topped off with fuel.
Just save us fuel. There's plenty of time to catch up. No hurry. Save us fuel now.
So the words from his team on how to deal with this race. In the Budweiser Hard Charger Award, Luis Garcia Jr., who has been steadily driving, keeping in races, and of course the award is based on improving your position throughout the race. He's done it very well. The mid-race summary after 52 laps, we're going to 83. Castroneves has been the game all the way. The only lead change came on the stops. So, action continues.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought the manufacturers championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies. Fortunately, this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
Hey, what's happening, B? Nothing. Just chilling. Watching the game. Having a bud. What's up with... Hold on a second. Hello?
What's up? Yo, hold up. Hello?
So what's up, B? Nothing. Watching the game, having a bud.
When it's wet, Bridgestone worn tires can perform longer with this breakthrough. Unity AQ Advanced Tire Technology. Like a tire inside a tire. With extended performance rubber compound and dual layer tread. Even as it wears down, wet performance stays up. Better cornering. Quicker stops. Get wet performance that lasts with Unity AQ. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
Honey, can you just get the channel, please?
MSN Internet Access.
How about some sort of sport thing? What about
16:9 digital TV.
Hold on.
And a digital camcorder for catching all of those first steps.
Turn on the fun, Best Buy.
That's my boy.
Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Gary Gerald, Jan Pikus. This game just really got interesting. We're now in a situation where some of the guys think they can go all the way to the end. You saw the top up on Paul Tracy, and that's going to be, what, about 30 laps?
Well, we also had Christian Fittipaldi. We had a couple other guys come in, but on the way out of the pits is where this got interesting. We said that this is uphill. It's very narrow. They launched Christian. Look at Tarso Marquez. Very, very close. I was expecting to see a T-shirt next week and it said, hey, guess who I ran into in the pit out at Laguna?
All right, so you've grabbed your fuel chart.
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
Well, they've got to get at least 2 miles per gallon, but I think a lot of these guys, now that they've topped up and played the fuel game, will be able to get to the end. I think some of them might need another lap or two of yellow at some point. If that's the case for Paul Tracy and some of the others who've taken the risk, Paul Tracy now in 14th, everyone in front of him is going to have to come in, I think, one more time in order to get it to the end. Boom, Paul Tracy's at the front.
Oh, goodbye, Elio Castroneves. He just jumped on it hard as they come back to the green flag. DeFerrin now closes in on him. Field comes down. Green flag just on the other side of that bridge. Restart here. 55th lap now underway.
There's Michael
moves to the inside, takes Memo Gidling.
That's not for position. Gidley's a lap down now.
But so some are going to be on a little bit of a fuel conservation to try and make it to the end. Jan Beekes.
Also consider Michael Andretti did not pit, so he'll be light on fuel. He should be able to be much more racy than the guys ahead that have a full tank.
"25 laps since Michael Andretti last pitted." I wonder how long they're going to keep him out there, and I wonder why they didn't stop him.
Well, he's going to be able to go a little further because of those yellow laps. You can see Tony Kanaan making a move up the inside there. But still, within the next handful of laps, Michael Andretti will have to come in. That'll rotate him to the back of the order, and then he's good to go at the end. But still, questionable fuel strategy, I would think.
But you're going to make an interesting last 2 or 3 laps in this race. Montoya chasing Brett. This is Riley a little bit here. Sitting up there at the edge of the top 10, and here comes Paul Tracy. Tracy got sandwiched in there. Look at the tearaways go flying as they come up through 6 and pull those little strips of cellophane off the front of the helmets to keep them clear. They get especially dirty when you're running right up somebody else's exhaust pipe.
And just as ahead as Oriol Servia, he was able to get by Jimmy Vasser on that last restart.
Speaking of Servia, that was a pretty good little move, and we do have it on tape.
Coming down into turn 2, looks towards the inside, just says, oh, I got you, Jimmy. Really no choice there, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to get partially up the side of the car you're passing. You want to get wheel to wheel with him, and then hold him to the outside so there's just no opportunity for him to retaliate.
And Jimmy wasn't going to give it up too easily, though. He was really fighting, and Tracy was close in.
Yeah, he gave Oriol a car width and a couple inches, and that's all that you should do.
Tracy works Jimmy. This is 411. There's Oriol, there's Vasser. Tracy makes a move. So does Carpentier. Carpentier is just going to follow Tracy. Curious assortment of lines coming up the hill there, isn't it?
Well, and really, it's whatever's most comfortable for the driver in the braking area. You normally come in at a little bit of a diagonal. You normally lock up the left side wheels. You've got some more weighting on the right side as you're ready to dive down into turn 8. But really, the line there is just a matter of driver comfort. There's really no line that's particularly faster. It's whatever the driver likes.
Tony Kanaan, well, the best assumption next year is that he's going to have something to do at Morris Nunn Racing. There is also a lot of rumor going around that team, who will be with it, who else may be with it, and what power plants they'll use. They're one of those that are going to be affected by the Mercedes-Benz departure. Gary Gerald.
Well, we're talking about this fuel business. Initially on the stop, and Montoya had 34 laps or so to go when he made the second stop. He was one of those immediately questioning the pits about, do I have enough fuel to go to the end? Initially, he was told that, yes, you did. Then they decided that might not be the case. We were extremely skeptical. They said they needed another couple of laps of yellow. Jan said that he would really try to save some fuel, and Chip Ganassi told him that they might, in fact, have to stop again. So the fuel conservation game is on one more time in the FedEx Series.
The amazing one for me, though, remains Michael Andretti and Max Pappas, Ford-powered cars. 28 laps since the last stop for Andretti, 29 for Pappas. What's going on there?
They've got a few more laps they'll have to come in. If we go back to Montoya, in order to go 34 laps, he's got to get 2.2 miles per gallon. That's 10% more than Paul Tracy at 2 miles per gallon. And consider the strategy of the guys at the front that are running about 1.85 miles per gallon. You see Tony Kanaan's in. And consider it's just not fuel mileage, that's horsepower as well. He's got to really turn it down in order to try to extend this fuel run.
You saw Tony Kanaan make his stop. Nothing changes at the front. Casper Neves, Perrin, Tranquiti, and Andretti. Out in Monterey Bay, they're having a little more peaceful day, but they're missing a lot of the fun at the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey.
I just saved her $120 on a set of Goodyears. At Mavis Discount Tire, it's our job to save people money on their tires. Mavis even has 4 all-season steel-belted radials for just $99 every day. 4 tires for 99 bucks. Mavis Discount Tire guarantees low prices for the brands you want. Call 1-800-4TRACTION. We're going to save you money, a lot of money.
If anything is more frustrating than golf, it's getting your company's telecommunications right. Some say missed deadlines and outdated technologies are par for the course. At LightPath, we say frustration may be unavoidable in golf, but it's unacceptable in business. So we work with you to customize the perfect communication solution. Frustration. It's designed into every golf course and eliminated from every LightPath solution. LightPath.
Voice, data, internet, real human beings.
Control. This Wednesday, Pennant Fever heats up on ESPN and ESPN2. At 7 on ESPN, the Red Sox battle the Indians for a wild card berth. On ESPN2 at 7, the Yankees take on Carlos Delgado and the Jays. Then at 10 on ESPN, the Royals nip at the Mariners. While on ESPN2, it's the Dodgers D-backs in a wild card tug-of-war. At 7, Red Sox Indians, Blue Jays Yankees. At 10, Royals Mariners, Dodgers D-backs, Wednesday.
Are you one of those that like sits around and says, I know more about sports than anyone else? Well, ESPN has come up with the ultimate sports fan quiz show. It's the 2-minute drill. Check it out on Monday. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, finally, Ford Power by Max Pappas comes into the pits. Michael Andretti is still out there. And so as Pappas comes away...
And you saw D'Amato leave just in front of him, Paul. He came in, got no tires, just got a quick splash. However, it looks for Michael Andretti. They're going to fill that car up with fuel and go for tires. He'll be here next time around.
Michael Andretti due in. Alex Tagliani came in while we were away, and they told him to shut the car down. D'Amato wasn't quite as aggressive as I would expected coming out of the pits. What's going on here?
I'm very surprised, and that was for position coming out of the pits. It looked like he had forgotten that this is actually a race and you got to stand on it at all times. Max Pappas, obviously, as soon as he hit the last pit, right back up to full throttle, and Michael Andretti now finally comes in.
Michael Andretti.
Pass the bridge and hit your marks before tires and fuel.
Now remember that Michael Andretti in Vancouver was very critical of the team's fuel strategy, and I have a feeling that'll be the case here at Laguna Seca as well. As we mentioned, they're going to go for the 4 tires. But it's not really the... 11.8 seconds, and it's not so much the stop, it's the timing of the stop that is going to hurt Michael.
Back to the leader as Michael Andretti comes out, joins the field. The rest of the field heading up through 6. We mentioned Alex Tagliani out of the car just a few minutes ago, Gary.
Tag, I know you had all kinds of problems today. What ends up being the problem that puts you on this side of the wall?
Well, actually, you know, the Player Sports team gave me a very fast start. We showed that in the warm-up this morning. But we had a problem with the engine. We thought it was a coil, and after that we changed the coil, and it seems that it's a spark plug that it's, you know, defect. And we were running with a lot of less power than everybody else. So my car was very fast. I was just disappointed for all the guys because the engine was not there today. And the incident, Moreno was in the wall, yellow flag, and Michael Jourdain tried to pass me under yellow. So that was a pretty dumb move.
Thank you.
So Alex Tagliani becomes only the second guy out of the race. He had that off-course excursion just after Moreno went on, but he was able to get it going again with the help of the safety team. Moreno, of course, has made it on foot back to the pits, but his day is done. Everybody else, the remaining 22, are still on the course. Jan Deacon.
Well, for Elio Castro Neves, he just had a radio conversation with Tim Cindric, the president of Penske Racing, and I quote, "This fuel economy will win you the race." So therefore, we would assume he's got enough to make it to the end.
Let's talk about that word fuel economy, Parker. It's a misnomer. Fuel economy in my car is when I'm really slowing down.
Well, they've got plenty of fuel in the tanks back in the pits to make the race distance. That's no problem, but it's all about track position. Trying to extend your stop as long as possible. So even if they had unlimited fuel in the pits, it wouldn't affect the strategy as to when you came in, under what circumstances of yellow or even under green, to try to gain those positions, not by racing on the track, but simply through superior strategy on when you come into the pits.
While Castro Neves still leads, having completed 63 of the 83 laps with just 20 to go, and his teammate DeFerrin sits in second, followed by the Honda car, also Frank Tiede. Brian Herta has kind of worked his way back up into 4th place, so we're pretty much in start order, with the exception of Montoya being back in 6th.
We
We argue all the time as to who has the better lawn, and really, Scotts does it for all three of us. Now, during the summer, my grass takes a beating. What the grass needs is turf builder. It pumps it up, it rejuvenates it. You've got to feed it. Fall is the best time of year to put down Scotts turf builder.
Ask Dr. DeVries, the plastic surgeon of Beverly Hills.
Dr. DeVries, thanks to you, I miss June and July.
Dr. DeVries. Dr. Bouchon, bonsoir. Party.
How do you do it?
Well, I am using a new plumbing product called Selectica.
Lexicon? That stuff doesn't work.
Doesn't he know? It's being banned in Japan. Doctor, thank you so much for my buttocks.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to FT.com and get in-depth business news and analysis from every corner of the globe.
When it's wet, Bridgestone-worn tires can perform longer with this breakthrough. Unity AQ Advanced Tire Technology. Like a tire inside a tire. With extended performance rubber compound and dual-layer tread. Even as it wears down, wet performance stays up. Better cornering. Quicker stops. Get wet performance that lasts with Unity AQ. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
We argue all the time as to who has the better lawn, and really, Scotts does it for all three of us. Now, during the summer, my grass takes a beating. What the grass needs is turf builder. It pumps it up, it rejuvenates it. You've got to feed it. Fall is the best time of year to put down Scotts turf builder.
College football Thursday. Brett Ingeman, Luke, or Phenom. ESPN spotlights this super soft QB to see if he'll slump or soar. College football tonight at 7:30. Mississippi State versus BYU at 8. Thursday on ESPN.
On Monday night, it's going to be a battle of two bitter division rivals. Vinny Testaverde is back for the Jets when they face Drew Bledsoe and the New England Patriots. New England at New York, Monday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC Sports. And here at Laguna Seca Raceway, it is Helio Castroneves that has completed now 65 laps in the lead, with his teammate Jill DeFerrin in second place just behind him, followed by Frank Keedy and Brian Herta. Pretty much the way they qualified. But the advantage is going to DeFerrin right now, because DeFerrin in the points fight right now has moved ahead of Michael Andretti by 6 full points, should they finish the way they do today. So this has really paid off for DeFerrin. What has not really paid off was the fact that his teammate got the single point for the most laps led and for the pole. 2 points that would have served DeFerrin very well.
And remember last year, the race at Houston was really the deciding point in the championship for Team Green. Team orders weren't used. Paul Tracy went on to win. Remember, it came down to a tie at the end of the season between Montoya and Frank Keedy. The championship going to Montoya for more wins. I think the teams now keep that at the forefront of their strategies now with the championship, and realize that a point here, a point there, now, as competitive as the series is, can make all the difference.
So with Castroneves in the lead, followed by DeFerrin, and Andretti, by the way, has only been able to get out into 15th place after that stop. But that may pay off later. Look at this. When they came into this race, there was a 20-point spread at the top of the field, and the differential first through 6, 20 points. That's the closest battle in history by far. And as of now, first through 6 is a 17-point spread. Here are the points as they stand at this moment, and there it is. Of course, Moreno is out of competition right now. Andretti is sitting well back there. Tracy is back as well. So the day's looking pretty good for DeFerrin, but I don't think the final chapter is going to come until about lap 80 when we find out who is going to stop and who is going to continue on.
All the decisions that have been made.
2.1 that lap, 2.1 plus 1. 2.1 on fuel.
Yeah, they aren't talking about intervals there. It's all now about fuel. 2.1 miles per gallon will give you. Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
When they say 2.1, the target for DeFerrin is 2.2. So that's why they're so adamant about the 2.1, because they need more than that.
And that's a big difference in laps. 2.1 takes you just over 30 laps to get you to 2.2. Well, that squeezes out another 3 laps out of the tank. So what the drivers are doing now, they've got it leaned back as far as they can with the mixture control. But what you're doing is short shifting on the upshifts. You're not taking it all the way up to the rev limiter. And when you come into the braking areas, you're lifting as early as you can using rolling momentum into the braking area. And on the downshifts, remember, with the sequential gearboxes, they can't skip gears. They've got to go through every single gear.
Off. Can he keep it going and get back out of that gravel pit? You can't spin him too much. He's pretty close to the edge of the road. There he is.
The gravel traps haven't stopped anyone so far this weekend, and Tony knows that. He's just going to keep his foot in it and just get it back out onto the racetrack. But as I was saying, the last thing that you do as a driver is when you come into the braking area for downshifting, because you have to go through all the gears, the thing you do is that you rev the engine as little as possible. So you're breathing the throttle, doing everything you can to extend mileage.
Look again at Tony Kanaan. He was a lap behind the race when this happened.
Coming into turn number 2, lots of smoke from the back of the car here. Now watch the rear wheels. He just keeps on the throttle. He's got to be a little careful. You can see him slow down on the brake between the two traps. And now look at him just doing his tractor pull imitation and brings the car back on the track. That was really heads up for him to get on the throttle when he needed to, but then breathe it in between those two gravel traps.
Things are getting pretty tight up at the front between Catherine Nevis, DeFer, and Franchitti. Look at the cars bounce. We've already shown you a lot of visuals of the cars as they move back and forth over the curbings and how it grabs the steering wheel and moves it around. A lot of people still have what I think is a rather stupid argument as to whether or not these guys are athletes.
Well, there's no question these guys are tremendous athletes. They have heart rates during the course of this race ranging from 160 to 185 beats a minute for nearly 2 hours. They're pulling 3.5 Gs of braking force and cornering force. And you look at the tremendous concentration these guys have to have, traveling upwards of 300 feet a second. If they make the slightest decision, a tenth of a second too late, they'll be 30 feet off the racetrack. And look at this pass that's being set up by Jimmy Vasser underneath Oriol Servia going into turn 2.
Vasser around Servia. Servia comes right back at him.
That's about as textbook as it gets. You carry more entry speed, you wash out at the apex, you can't get the power down. And now look at Paul Tracy on the back of Jimmy Vasser. Oriol, very patient, a very intelligent young man, says, great, you'll wash out wide, I'll concentrate on carrying speed off the corner, comes right back at him.
Oh, it's getting hot here. This is a four-way battle for 8th place. You saw Carpentier take a look at Tracy as well. What surprises me is you did say that's elemental, and it's surprising to see that kind of thinking come up here in the champ cars. Dario Franchitti, 3rd place. Gary.
Couple of more updates here relating fuel. Just talked to Kim Green. He said, it is marginal for us. I said, what do you got to get? What's the target? He says, well, we've got to be getting consistently over 2 miles per gallon. And Chip Ganassi has also told Juan Montoya that they're looking better now on fuel. Juan apparently doing a good job in the conservation mode as he travels along in 6th place. Jan?
Well, for Brian Herta, a similar situation. I asked if they would be able to make it to the end, and they said, we're trying. It will be close. So you've got different engine manufacturers all trying to accomplish the same thing. Go as fast as you possibly can and still have enough fuel to cross the finish line.
You see the signage both on the rear wing and on the side for Brian Herta for Rockingham Speedway in England. That's one of the 3 new tracks that the series will visit next year. Monterrey, Mexico, Rockingham, England, and Euro Speedway north in the central part of Germany. They're all 3 going to be really cool. Catherine Nevis, DeFer, and Franchitti. Honda, then 2 Fords. Montoya in 6th place is the lone Toyota in the top 6.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought them manufacturers' championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies.
Now this is the fierce snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him, and it's all over. No! Oh, no worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America by FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
Hello? Yo, who's that? Yo, it's Dick. True. Hello? Yo, it's Dick. True.
Berber carpet, Bimini top, CD stereo system, 270 horsepower, room for 7. The LS 2000 sport boat from Yamaha, loaded with power, performance, and amenities. Because there's something very cool about exploring an old wreck. There's nothing cool about driving one. Yamaha, the most popular boat on the water.
Through October, get 000 financing until March 2001 on all new 2001 models.
Hi, everybody. Bill Pito here in our Sports Center studios with this special report. After 29 years as the head basketball coach at the University of Indiana, Bob Knight has been fired. That word coming from University President Miles Brand moments ago. And the president cited many inappropriate acts by the coach since the university adopted the zero-tolerance policy for his behavior back in May. So the incident with the freshman student last week, just one of what the university is calling many inappropriate acts by the head basketball coach. Brand dismissed Knight. He made it official moments ago.
In an early morning telephone conversation with Coach Knight today, I gave him the option of resigning as head basketball coach. He declined, and I notified him that he was being removed as basketball coach, effective immediately.
Brand says the university will name an interim coach for the upcoming season. Knight's contract runs through June of the year 2002. He will be paid for that entire time. So complete details coming up on Sports Center at 7 Eastern. Now, let's get you back to racing.
And of course, Sports Center is going to be all over the story of Bobby Knight. Don't miss their coverage. 7 and 11 Eastern Time tonight. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, since we've been away, there has been just one move of consequence, and it is fairly important. It centers on Paul Tracy as we look at the current standings. But Tracy was able to make a move on Jimmy Vasser, get around him, and take 9th place. Ever so important points.
Once again, heading down into turn 2. Paul's, who was a little close on the way in, but finally sticks the maneuver just past the first apex here. Jimmy trying to tuck back in so that Carpentier also doesn't take advantage of him having to slow down to let Tracy through.
Montoya runs in 6th. Want to go back and take a look. Here comes Serbia and Tracy. They're pretty hard at it.
And keep in mind, Tracy did that splash and go right at the end of that last yellow. He has got 4 additional laps worth of fuel, so to speak, than any of the cars around him. Jimmy Vasser behind him, Serbia in front of them. In fact, everybody up to Castroneves has now come in lap 48.
Paul, right on fuel. We're just watching it. Just be careful on the overtake. Only use it when you think you've got an opportunity. You're doing a great job.
You can hear Green talking to Tracy. The overtake button. The engine goes to full rich, full advance on the timing, gives them all of 900-plus horsepower. He's the guy that can take full advantage of this situation. That strategy, very risky as it may have been at the time, may be paying off, but he's got a short amount of time to try to get these passes done.
And with his back-to-back victories, Paul Tracy has been on a roll. Back at the front, Castroneves, DeFerrin, Frank Petey. There's Brian Herta. Kenny Breck is in that fight, too, and certainly Montoya's in there. That's tightening up.
And we could see the interval there from Castroneves back to Tracy. It's about the length of the pit straightaway. It's about 10.2 seconds. So Tracy has his work cut out from him. But it looks like the guys at the front have enough fuel to get to the end and be a little racy at the same time.
You went back and looked at how the top 10 was in the points at the start of this race. Every one of them has changed now. Again, competitiveness of the series. Look how tight it is. Tracy works on Serbia. Remember the great pass to Nardi, Brian Herta at the top of the hill? Herta doesn't think of it that way, but it's also not a pass that you'll ever see again and actually have it work, because now you cannot gain a position with an off-course excursion, which is, of course, what Zanardi did to win that race on the very last lap.
7 laps, 7 to go.
Boy, it's getting close now. Who's telling the truth down there? Who can get it done? Penske cars, front of the field. Franchitti sits there in third, 3 Hondas, a Ford, and a Toyota. Paul Tracy trying to come up through the field and gain some points as well. We'll be back with more from Laguna Seca.
Dr. DeBreeze, the plastic surgeon of Beverly Hills.
Dr. DeBreeze, thanks to you, I missed June and July.
Dr. DeBreeze. Dr. Bouchon, bonsoir. Barney.
How do you do it?
Well, I am using a new plumping product called Selexical.
Lexical?
That stuff doesn't work.
Doesn't he know? It's being banned in Japan. Doctor, thank you so much for my buttocks. Don't let this happen to you. Go to FT.com and get in-depth business news and analysis from every corner of the globe.
This is an ordinary cell phone. This is Nextel, and it's going to change the way you do business thanks to Direct Connect. Its digital two-way radio feature. Frank? Not yet. It ensures instant contact. Bridget?
Got it.
Cost a fraction of cellular. Just passed. And it makes other cell phones...
Ready now.
obsolete.
Direct Connect from Nextel. How business gets done.
Sign up for Nextel National Business Plan by September 30th and get free incoming cellular calls.
Honey, can you just pick the channel, please?
MSN Internet Access.
How about some sort of sports thing? What about
16:9 digital TV.
going on?
And a digital camcorder for catching all of those first steps.
Turn on the fun, Best Buy.
That's my boy. An A&E original movie presentation. The world's most dangerous private eye returns.
It's me, your hero, Spencer.
In a story where the past won't let you go, obsession can lead to kidnapping. Joe Mantegna, Luis Guzman, Sin Air, premieres September 12th on A&E. Kidnapping can lead to something dangerous. Spencer.
No changes in the order since we left you. They only changed physically. You'll see Alex Barron sitting in physical third place behind second place Jill DeFerrin. He just came out of the pits and dropped into that position. He has no factor. In fact, Franchitti is already around him, so the battle at the front of the field continues. Just a reminder of the points you earn for each position, which tells you why everybody's battling hard, especially Tracy well back in the field, trying to grab any point he can. Moreno needed these points, and Gary Gerald, he's been out for some time.
Yeah, Roberto doesn't get the points today, and that's a major concern. But let's talk about the confrontation at a couple of points on the racetrack between you and Max Pappas. How much do you think did we see, and where did this all begin?
Basically previous to what you've probably seen here on the start-finishing line when he repassed me. Up on before the Corkscrew, which is one of the fastest places in the circuit, he came out of the corner and made a huge mistake. I went around him, and he only left me the outside. When I went on the outside, he squeezed me out of on the outside of the circuit. If I had not let off, could be a huge accident there. So unfortunately that happened, and I had to squeeze by him because he was having problems. So I tried very hard here in the front of the pits. It didn't work. And then I had my rear wheels locked up into turn 5, and unfortunately was the end of the day for the Vision Patrick team. But I'm very, very glad because we started the weekend not very good. We made the car work by the race, and as always, the Vision Patrick team did a good job. I'm very, very pleased, and I will still chase this championship one way or another.
Well, we know that. Thanks, Roberto.
Thank you.
No changes. They climb up to the top. There is Herta coming into the Corkscrew.
So here you are trying to guide your 1,550-pound, 900-plus horsepower ground-based missile with 25 of your closest friends all trying to fight over who should be in front of who when the checkered flag falls.
4 laps to go now for the leader, Helio Castroneves. You should have seen his face when he said all that.
I need all the fuel you can give me. 3 laps remain.
You just heard the conversations to Helio Castroneves. Jan, are they nervous in the Penske pit?
Well, we'll find out. Tim, has the fuel conservation worked for you? Can you make it to the end?
Yeah, at this point, unless we have a surprise or whatever, I think we're in good shape. He's done a great job at this point.
Very nervous, or do you have a bit in reserve now?
We think we have a little in reserve, but you're always nervous at this point, so we'll see what happens.
Thanks, Tim.
And if they actually calculate this just right, the cars should run out at the start-finish line with the checkered flag. It's going to be interesting to see if all of the cars will be able to make it back to the pit lane on the cool-down lap.
Now, where does elevation changes figure into all of that? The fuel's got to be sloshing around in there as they're getting down to the bottom.
Well, even this corner in turn 9, the physical loading is so high that I know several drivers who actually loosen their shoulder harnesses so they can move forward to get a little better leverage over the steering wheel. So if the drivers have to do that in order to manhandle these cars, certainly you think, even though there's foam in the fuel cell, trying to manage the fuel sloshing around in the tank, still, the uphill, the downhill, the constant left, right, left transitions, it'd be interesting to see if they can pick up every ounce of fuel in order to get to the checkered flag.
Jan Vikas, it used to be your home track.
Yeah, when you're talking about the fuel sloshing around in the fuel cell, they actually don't worry about that too much because they have a fuel collector that holds about 3/4 of a gallon, and then they have the actual receptacles that suck it up into that. So in other words, even if you had sloshing in the bottom of the fuel cell, you always have about 3/4 of a gallon there so you don't suck air. So it's only that last 3/4 of a gallon that you worry about.
Yeah, but it looks like they're taking it down to that last 3/4 of a gallon. You just saw Servi and Tracy. Here it is. They came at one another, turn 2 once again.
And Oriel says, I've seen this before. Sure, have the inside. I'll take it right back as we get to the exit.
Oh, coming down to the closing laps now. Dario Franchitti, 3rd place. How's he on fuel, Gary?
Well, we just checked again with Kim Green. He says, yeah, it's improved, but then he gave us the big grin and he says, I'm afraid everybody else has improved too. So they don't think they're going to get any break in that respect, and they think they're going to make it to the end. I asked Chip Ganassi about Juan Montoya. I said, how close? And he just said, real close.
White flag is out. If there's nobody in the pits, they're all going to run for it, and they may need that downhill.
And Jan said 3/4 of a gallon. Well, keep in mind, that's only a couple of corners here at Laguna, but as you said, at least it's all downhill from the top of the corkscrew back to the pit lane.
Paul Tracy just spun it over in turn 2. He was trying it again with Servi, and then he lost it.
Oh, look at him chop in front of Christian Fittipaldi.
Remember, each of these are points. They're so important, just 4 to go after this in terms of races, so he can't afford to lose anything. That was costly. Top of the hill for Helio Castroneves. Gil DeFerrin's right there with him. Franchitti is certainly going to try to take a look at DeFerrin as they come down the hill. Again, whether or not all engines run all the way to the bottom, that's a question. Franchitti looks like he is out of the contest coming down the hill. He's going to come down in 3rd. Helio Castroneves, this is the final turn. He's only got to get up a brief uphill here, and he will have his 3rd career win.
All right! That's it. That's the way you do it. Great job, guys. Great job.
Oh, Helio Castroneves, 5th win of the year for Team Penske, 3rd in his career, and Gil DeFerrin will take the points lead. They're the unofficial results for you on a day that, well, we kind of thought it'd go a little more strategic by the end of the race. It looks like everybody's made it down the hill with no problem whatsoever. We'll be back.
Two tires, identical. Same brand name, same size, same color. So why does this one cost so much less than this one? Because this one comes from Mavis Discount Tire, where you get low prices on every tire, every day, guaranteed. At Mavis, it's our job to have the brand you want at low prices, period. So call 1-800-4-TRACTION and stop paying too much for your tires.
If anything is more frustrating than golf, it's getting your company's telecommunications right. Some say missed deadlines and outdated technologies are par for the course. At LightPath, we say frustration may be unavoidable in golf, but it's unacceptable in business. So we work with you to customize the perfect communication solution. Frustration. It's designed into every golf course and eliminated from every LightPath solution. LightPath. Voice, data, internet, real human beings.
Vince Lombardi once said, if you're not fired with enthusiasm, you'll be fired with enthusiasm. That guy didn't mess around.
What the hell's going on out here?
Lombardi definitely wanted to be the best. Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing.
When he was happy, you liked it. And when he was mad, you didn't want to be around him.
He took the spirit of the sport and elevated it.
Vince Lombardi, an all-new original episode of Sports Century, tomorrow at 8 on ESPN Classic.
To get ESPN Classic, call 1-800-CLASSIC.
Emmett and the boys head to the desert to tussle with Jake the Snake and the Cards. Right after NFL primetime at 7:30, it's the Cowboys versus the Cardinals at 8:30 on ESPN Sunday Night Football. It's football after dark.
Today's coverage on ESPN Speed World of the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey has been brought to you by Honda, proud sponsor of the 2000 FedEx Championship Series, and by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. The results are unofficial right now, but Helio Castroneves appears to have won it handily, followed by DeFerrin and Franchitti. Ariel Servia ran out of fuel coming to the line and sitting a few yards short. Carpentier from 18th to 9th. We'll be right back.
What did he picture in his mind at 5 years old? At 8. At 11. He pictured himself looking just like this at 500.
When it's wet, Bridgestone worn tires can perform longer with this breakthrough. Unity AQ Advanced Tire Technology. Like a tire inside a tire. With extended performance rubber compound and dual layer tread. Even as it wears down, wet performance stays up. Better cornering. Quicker stops. Get wet performance that lasts with Unity AQ. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought them manufacturers' championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies. Fortunately, this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
Now this is the fierce snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him, and it's all over. No! Oh, no worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America by FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
Once again, back at Laguna Seca, the huge scoring pylon over the shoulder of the man who has conquered this place, Helio Castroneves, win number 3. The concern was fuel. How much concern did you have?
A lot, Gary, but I have to thank your Marvel team, Penske. I mean, they did a fantastic job giving me this car, and I was like just hilarious. I was like, yeah, come on, I'm going to do it. And of course, this victory memory of Gonzalo, and I'm sure whatever he is, he will shine.
Terrific job today. He found a fence to climb and a wall to climb, and here's a magnificent trophy as the winner of the Honda Grand Prix of Monterey.
And while Castroneves does take the victory, it's Gil DeFerrin that really benefits most by the run today as he moves into the points lead, 6 points over Michael Andretti. We'll be right back.